Welcome to Gold Derby. I'm senior editor Denton Davidson here with Wes Bergmann, the smartest, most hilarious, most genetically gifted man to ever rule the challenge. Wes, I think you would agree with me here, would you not?
I mean, you left off a handful of other great adjectives, but otherwise, yeah, no, you're not wrong.
Well, sadly, this season of the Challenge USA was not yours. You were sent packing Thursday night. You got a baby on the way. So, congratulations on that. Talk about the added pressure of that because you got a little emotional this season thinking about it. What was it like to come back for what was possibly your last challenge?
Okay, so what I was getting emotional about was the fact that I was going to be leaving the challenge, like in general, like because and losing my identity, and that was the first that I had uttered it to basically the people who produced the show, who I've been with for a long time. There were people in that room that I've known for 15 plus years. And so that was kind of why I was breaking down, is because I was scared to tell everybody. I was scared to tell my colleagues. I was scared to tell the production company. And that was the scene. Does an added bit of emotion get added to that because I'm going to be a father? Sure, but we're talking like 3%. I am in fact scared to become a dad and excited, but I am scared. I'm not I'm not underestimating how challenging that will be, but really that breakdown scene was me coming to grips with a loss of a large part of my identity, and a large and something that means a lot to me, which is the challenge. And it just is it was a very sad thing to kind of have to say out loud, and I was scared to say it out loud. And that was what was happening. And even though they edited the one part that makes Bananas look kind of immature, he actually was eerily consoling during that time, which was kind of gross in and of itself. It was just, again, a showcase of how desperate times have become if I'm breaking down to Bananas and he's the one person in the house that I can kind of talk to about this kind of stuff. It's just downright sad. But yeah, that was a very emotional time.
It was the circumstance of who you were with. Also, speaking of this, so you've done like almost 18, basically your entire adult life. This has been part of your life. Looking at the ups and downs of everything that you've done and accomplished over the years, what is your favorite challenge season? What is the peak moment for you?
It's hard to shake a stick at some of those memories from way back in the day on the duel, on my first win. To be the first man to win a season of the challenge all by himself with no team, was quite the accomplishment, and I've just some very vivid memories there. But I also like have all these, I don't want to say great memories, but important memories of the times where I didn't win, and then what that taught me to become a better man. Whether it was I didn't get a fair shake, or I personally made a mistake, or I just could have been a little bit better, or chose the wrong strategy. Those are things that I am able to take those and not only become a better challenger, but also take it into my real life and become better as a businessman and a husband and eventually a father. Like the challenges is such a test of like all the things that it is transferable into other important areas of my life. And I'm better because of it. And I say sometimes that like the challenge is like lifting weights for your social prowess. And I go on that and I bench press a lot, metaphorically, and then I come back home and I'm better and stronger because of it. And I'll tell you what, I am better and stronger because of the losses, not because of the wins.
Well, and it's just been interesting watching the evolution of the challenge. You look back at some of those early challenges, they're like beach games in Mexico. And I mean, even off camera, or not off camera, but outside of the competition, people were just drunk. It was a lot of drama. It's really become a high intensity sport now, from like you're jumping off semis, you're going all over the world. What has it been like to just be part of that and watch the evolution of this show transform to this level?
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm really proud of is I came in, there was a new showrunner. So the boss, I want to say his second season. And it was my first. And that was when the final was for the first time ever, like hard. And they kind of stepped up the games. And so he inherited this like party show but he had this vision to kind of basically like slowly make it more and more like a sport, more and more challenging. And by the time MTV kind of realized what had happened, it had changed. And I think it's part of the reason why I have been asked back so much is I came in ready to play a sport, and I came in prepared, and I came in with that intensity. And I kind of fit into the thesis of where the show was going. And so, I am a cog in the machine, but I definitely am a cog that was greased up in the right direction. And am definitely a part of the direction that the show changed when it turned, because I wasn't on the show when everyone was dressing up in chicken suits and running around in the backyard. I was on the seasons where we were jumping from apparatus to apparatus and running for 12 hours in a final with sandbags on our backs. And that was my first one. And that's when things started to tweak. And so, if it wasn't for my predecessors who are crazily entertaining, they basically got all this traction that was so necessary. But then in my generation's own way, we took the baton and we took it in a slightly different direction. And one can only hope that whatever the next generation is right now is ready to carry that baton to what I would consider to be kind of the third era of the challenge, which is what we're in now, which is every week, new thing in multiple channels all across the world, even. And, just given my age and everything, it's time for them to step up and figure out a way to carry it for the next 10 years.
Well, this Challenge USA version is sort of part of this evolution. You've got all these players from Survivor, Big Brother, The Amazing Race. These aren't challenge vets, but this is the second season of this show. I think it was a brilliant move by producers to do this. Bring in 6 heavy hitters from the original challenge this year. What was it like riding up on those jet skis and getting tossed in the game like lions surrounded by hyenas? I mean, you were drastically outnumbered.
Yeah. So okay. If we're the lions, then there was like 400 hyenas. Is just because if we're lions and if it was 6 lions versus 24 or whatever the number is hyenas, we would maul them. But we are not in fact lions. They're all pretty good too. It felt like we got set up. It felt like we got set up hard, and it felt at first I had to kind of come to grips with that. We just had a much more difficult plight to deal with. And that kind of stinks, because there's been very few, if any, times. I think I can think of one example where I kind of showed up and the theme like really heavily played in my favor out of almost 20 seasons. And this one is an example of one of the many times where I've shown up and been like, I'm not going to win this. If I can even get a couple of weeks in, then I'm going to leave with my head held high. And this was kind of one of those ones.
Well, you go into this challenge, you're like, okay, I have to win. It's a double elimination. Everyone gets on that ledge. You have to jump off to grab a baton. Round 1, you go out by yourself. That was deflating. TJ gives you a little bit of crap for that. So what was going through your head in that moment?
Yeah. It's embarrassing. I mean, I'm so competitive, and I couldn't, obviously, because the things happen so fast, you don't really even know what happened. And so and they didn't have a good view because they're off to the side and kind of far. So no one, including me, really knew what happened. And my best guess ended up being true. So now I get a better view because I just watched it. And it slipped through my fingers. And so it's not like I didn't have enough velocity or height or whatever. The thing was what made it hard was the first one was so close. And I think I just psyched myself out a little bit. It's embarrassing is what it boils down to. But I would never have been able to do what Fessy did. So it's not like that really changed anything per se. If anything, like the reason why people threw balls on me is because they consider me to be a threat in the finals. And if anything, it helps to take my threat level down by not even being able to jump and grab the first one. And I am being honest here. I was trying to grab the first one and I just failed outright. But looking back at why I got balls thrown on me, I should be trying to get last place every day because all they're doing is being obsessed over how good I am. And so it doesn't help me to do, it's better to just never have power and always get last place and have my threat level go down. So I would have never been able to beat Festal at that. And so might as well go out first.
Yeah. Well, you get thrown in the hopper. You only had 3 balls. Tyler had 7. Bananas had 2. The odds were in your favor, but you still got thrown into that hopper, and your name pops out. You have to go up against Chris in something. These eliminations, you can't prepare for these. You can be as athletic and smart, but I mean, at the point where you're flying around on strings in the air, trying to not get patches torn off your body, you're sort of, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So what was it like in that moment when, you lose that? TJ says you're going home.
I was sad, but and embarrassed in my, it is, I'm very competitive, and I've never, there's no way for me to lie about that fact. There's 20 years of footage showcasing how competitive I am. So it's embarrassing and it stings, and I hate to lose everything. It doesn't matter whether we're playing the challenge for $1 million or playing Monopoly for $1 million in fake money. I don't care. I will get equally kind of riled up, if you will. But what very quickly starts to kind of go through your head is this will be the last time that I'm like under the lights like this. And then I'm leaving the game, and and that's sad. It's I've spent a lot of my life in those environments, and I'm going to miss it. And so it was less of like oh, woe is me, I've lost this one particular game, and more of a woe is me, I'm never going to get to play this game again, sadness. And that was, it was also a very lonely feeling because I'm telling you, none of the CBS people gave a rat's ass about the fact that I was done. They were all celebrating. The best finalist is now gone. And they knew it, and they're fine with it. And quite frankly, they don't really, they would say under hush breaths, like, oh yeah, you are a legend. Good job. You've paved the way. But they would do that under hush breath. And so, it was a wrong group of people to kind of celebrate my last season with, to say the least.
And of course, no one cried more than Josh, who threw your name in the hopper. But he cries the most on most seasons that he's on, I would say.
I almost, sometimes I'm okay with the crying, because he's a passionate man. But like, if you're gonna get to a point where you are weeping over a decision that you are making, then like, you're wrong, or you've made a bunch of missteps to get there. And I mean, it was pathetic to watch. And but it wasn't necessarily his ball that got me thrown in. I think that it's fun to it's fun to tell the story from that perspective, but it could have just as easily been Cassidy. It could have just as easily been Chris. It's a 1/3 chance that it was any of them three. And they all kind of came at me for their own reasons, and they struck. And I'd say I give the most props to Chris, because he kind of called his shot. He did what he had to do, and he beat me fair and square in a physical game that required a lot of body control. And so I give him props. I give Cassidy props. And with Josh, it's hard to give him props because on one end, it's like he got a good person out of the game, but he did so at what cost? Like, will it have ramifications on his ability to play with anyone in the future? And I mean this in the next few weeks, however long the rest of this game is. Because now he's crossed someone that he's been swearing that he's got. And then if he ever plays again, now anyone that's better than him has to ask themselves, when's he going to cut me? Because he's now identified himself as someone that can't play with good players. So if you're a good player and you want to partner with him, you're an idiot. So it was a bad long-term move.
Well, you name names, so this is fun. Who was the hardest, most annoying person to work with this season, and who on the other side has set themselves up best to reach that finale?
I think that there's a fun way of answering that with a single person, given how you asked it. I really wanted to work with Michaela. And I think that she's most poised to win the whole thing, and is in a really good spot. And she's most poised to eventually one day, with enough volume, become a legend of the game. She's got it all. Um, but she was also the most challenging to work with because she subscribed at first to the school of thought of we can't work with the veterans. We have to try and get them all out. And so I kind of came in with my boombox and on my shoulder, like trying to get her to be, and that's why I roomed with her. Like I really wanted to work with her. And at first it started well, but eventually they had to show their cards, which was we're going to go against the vets at all costs, regardless of what you guys say. And then once she did that, I think she felt it hard to trust me because she just assumed because she was coming at me that I would be coming at her. But in my strategy, I'm like, I think I could fix this. And so it was challenging to work with her, but we eventually figured it out. I mean, there's a reason why she did not vote for me in that last one. Like we had gotten, even though it was hardest to get there, we had gotten there. And quite frankly, I think she would have been with me until the end had I not lost. And then meanwhile, like I would say that she's got, of all of them that I could pluck and give the most credit to about who's got the best future on the challenge, I think it's Michaela.
Yeah, I would agree that she's fun to watch, and one of the reasons that bringing in these new faces is so important for the show. And Wes, I was hoping you could pull out another victory. It's fun to chat with you. I'm sorry it's this early, but thanks for sitting down with Gold Debris today.
Of course, thanks.